Let's talk to David Griffiths, former Holyrood candidate and political analyst, because we're going to talk about the SNP facing their own £4.7 billion black hole after a surge in benefit spending. David, a very good morning to you.
Hello, Mike. Good morning to you.
You guys in Scotland have got the same problem we've got. You've got a government that doesn't know how to run an economy, and you've got an expenditure budget which is way over and above what everybody else can afford to pay.
Absolutely right. And nothing new, of course. The Scottish Government, the SNP government, has a very lengthy track record of squandering money. You know, they waste eye-watering sums every year on unaccountable quangos which dictate government policy.
Yeah.
There's, of course, the ferries fiasco, doomed court cases pursued against their own legal advice, millions squandered on pretending overseas embassies. So it's no surprise. But yeah, you're right. They are spending way too much money on public services, particularly the welfare bill, which has become ludicrously high, and of course on public sector pay settlements. So really they're spending far more than they have, which is classic SNP tactics, really. Worry about the picking up the tab later.
Right. And you've got a Holyrood election coming up in the next year, haven't you, in 2026? A lot of people saying that Labour might take back control of the Holyrood government for the first time since the SNP took over, I guess, probably 15 years ago or more?
18. Yeah.
And so, I mean, is there a possibility that the SNP could be consigned into the dustbin of history because, you know, independence is not really anything anybody talks about anymore?
Well, that's true. I don't know if you saw the Government Expenditure and Revenue Scotland figures, GERS, which come out every year, and they showed a £26 billion deficit between what Scotland spends and what Scotland brings in. And as Andrew Neil said, these figures and the SNP government's laughable misinterpretation of what they represent show that the idea of Scottish independence is now irrelevant fantasy drivel, and he's quite right. So people, you'll hear from the SNP and from nationalists quite regularly that support for independence is at 50%. No, it's not. Last year, 30% of those who voted for pro-independence parties. The idea of toxic nationalism was firmly rejected. So next year, yes, Labour has a chance, and Labour did extremely well. They made a lot of gains last year, and funnily enough, the Conservative Party didn't lose so badly in Scotland. They held 5 of their 6 seats, and the Liberal Democrats gained seats last year. So the SNP is not popular right now. There are huge splits in it. So I'm hopeful. And to some of your viewers and listeners, the idea of a Labour administration might not be too attractive right now, but believe me, it would be an awful lot better in Scotland than an SNP administration for sure. I'm
also hearing as well, David, from people that I speak to up there, that Reform are probably going to do a lot better than everybody expects.
Well, I think Reform will get a lot of votes, Mike. I don't think that will necessarily translate into seats, particularly in the constituencies. Forgive me if I'm telling you what you know, I'm sure you do. There are 2 elements to the Scottish Holyrood election. There's the first vote, the first past the post, vote for a candidate. Reform will not do well there because they're simply not getting enough votes to get past the SNP and the leading pro-UK party in by-elections, in local by-elections. And if they're not doing that, they're not going to do it on the national stage. In the second part of the vote, the election, which is effectively proportional representation, that's what's called the regional list. That's where Reform will win some seats, and they unquestionably will, if their current vote level holds up. So yeah, it will be a new dimension to it, having some Reform MSPs in Holyrood. But the way things are looking, Reform will be taking any of their seats from the Conservatives and possibly from Labour, not from the SNP. So that's not really going to move us very far forward, unfortunately. Okay, interesting. And what's been the reaction to Nicola Sturgeon's book? Because, I mean, we've all been slightly aghast down here looking at some of the fashion shoots that she did for the Times at the weekend, and some of the things that she said in various interviews. And I mean, and I've said this many times, I mean, I used to know Nicola quite well when I worked up there. But what have people been saying in Scotland about that? I would say the reaction has been pretty much ridicule. I mean, Nicola Sturgeon is a marginalised figure these days. I don't know if you saw her last week being interviewed about the famous double rapist. Who styles himself Isla Bryson. And when asked, she said, "They are a rapist, and I'm not concerned about them." And she's still got this idiotic mantra in her head that she has to respect the pronouns of a double rapist. So I mean, that's frankly been the hill upon which Nicola Sturgeon chose to die. And well, Well, good luck. But I've actually taken her book out of the library, and there's some fascinating stuff in there. One story being that her very first boyfriend, who left her for a man, and so it's just, I think that may have set the tone for her rather bizarre choices throughout her life, because as we know, she's fairly, would you say, androgynous in terms of her own sexuality now, as she's admitted, and it seems to be a hatchet job against a dead man, her ex mentor, Alex Salmond, and she's just carrying on with the same idiotic ideas that she had towards the back end of her political career. And so frankly, Nicola Sturgeon now just looks like a has-been, a washed out has-been who's been interviewed by people who still have the wrong idea that she was somehow a virtuous figure when she was nothing. So
yeah, I think that's a very good take on it. David, thank you very much indeed. David Griffiths there, former Holyrood candidate, political analyst as well, nailing it, I think, saying that she's basically a has-been. And nobody cared. Why would you care? Why would you listen to what she had to say? It's a pity, really, because she was, at one time, a very formidable figure, but not anymore. 0344 499 1000.